Hey guys, how's it going? Can you hear me all right in the back? Awesome. So I'm Alex, CEO and co-founder of Branch Metrics. Basically, we make links for apps. If you need links, you need to use Branch. I'm gonna try to make this not such a big promotion for Branch, but maybe throw something at me if I start going too promo-y. On a personal note, I'm honestly just a guy that really loves mobile software. I am sort of enthralled with the concept that you can write like a little piece of functionality and push it out to a distribution channel to this really powerful computer that sits in like everybody's pocket. It's just like the most amazing concept to me. So I've built like 10 apps myself for both platforms. I just love the ecosystem. And all we do at Branch is try to make it better. Another personal story, like my most recent app, I built for my fiance, where I aggregated all the Bay Area hikes and indexed them by like keyword and stuff, so she can actually like find like Marin hikes that have flowers and green fields or whatever. It's cool. Anyways, so I'm going to talk to you about turning your app into a growth engine. I have basically a framework for sort of thinking about how you'd actually like sort of analyze your app from a holistic perspective. And then I just have a ton of examples that we've seen at Branch that work pretty well. We've also seen a lot of stuff that doesn't work well, but we can talk about that maybe later. So let's start with a story. Cool. So you have an app idea, and you spend 6 months, let's say, just polishing it up. It's super fun. You get to build out all this really cool stuff. Every idea that you have, you're just throwing it in there. And you just imagine that there are like people lined up out the door waiting to use it. And then so you launch, and then you log into iTunes Connect and check it out, and there's like not even 100 people have downloaded it. You're like, what the hell happened? I thought there were people just waiting to use this thing. Well, it turns out that there were basically 50,000 other apps that also launched in the same month. And how are you gonna stand out? So I think the emphasis I want to make here is, while it's really fun to build a lot of cool stuff, your work, like the actual work in building your business, just starts at launch. And so I have a lot of suggestions on how to analyze that. But the first thing is, you want to think about your mobile app like a growth engine. And so we have a little framework that we came up with at Branch that I think helps really simplify things from a practical perspective. And so we think about this growth engine as having 4 stages. So simply, there's the awareness stage, where people sort of like find out about your app. And then because you did such a good job in awareness, then they download it. And then you do some really great work. They love your app, and they activate. Maybe they register or do something to commit to it. And then later on, they go to share it with a friend. So let's break this down. The different stages we like to think of as a process, the transition between the different stages. So you want to go from like, you need to convince somebody who becomes aware of your product to actually download it. And awareness can come from many, many different sources. And one of the most challenging things in mobile in particular is to just like map out where the hell those people came from. So some examples are like, maybe you pay for users, or maybe set up an affiliate relationship with like another app that really is conducive to affiliate, or literally you walk the streets and you just like force every single person to download your app. Or there's some viral traffic. Ultimately, it'll drive a download. The next stage of that process is, in general, mobile users are super skeptical. And so when they actually first download your app, very few people will activate and like commit to it. In fact, I think the average that we've seen just on our network, it's less than half the people that actually commit to download and open it up after they download it will actually activate to be a real user. The rest will just like drop off and never come back. It's crazy. Third is, you want to convince all those folks who activated to actually go on and share. The majority of actual installs actually come from word of mouth or like friend recommendations, and anything that you can do to try to drive more of that in a more structured process, the better. All right, so I have a bunch of ideas, some things that we've seen, apps that use us on sort of mechanisms that you can use to optimize and improve these channels. So first off, let's just look at this first process of taking users that become aware of you and convincing them to download. How can you optimize and improve it? So we'll use an example from our network of apps where it's an affiliate relationship between two companies. It's Instacart, a company that does on-demand ingredient delivery, and Yumly, an app that basically collects a list of ingredients. And so it's a match made in heaven, right? And so let's say that I'm using Yumly. I see some really awesome, peanut butter cookie balls or something, and I want to, make that for myself, some snacks after work or whatever. I scroll down to the bottom of the ingredients in Yumly, and it says shop for ingredients. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. I'd love to start cooking this. So I click the button. It actually takes me to the App Store for Instacart, shows me that page. But even cooler than that is that after you finish the install, the first thing you see is actually a pre-populated list of the same ingredients you were just looking at in Yumly. So it's like a really, really smooth transition. And so the way that this worked, the way that they built this was basically Instacart gave instructions to Yumly on how to create a branch link that would basically point back to the Instacart app and then bundle in all of the ingredients for a particular recipe and send them through the App Store to the Instacart app so that they could pre-populate that list of ingredients. It's pretty cool. One thing I do want to say about affiliate is that it's really hard on mobile, way harder than on the web. And I have a personal example of something that I worked on for half a year probably. We basically built this really awesome printing service for mobile. It was an app. We then made an SDK that let photo apps who have a lot of photos, a lot of users who engage with digital photos, to print their photos. And so we would handle basically the printing and the shipping and all the logistics of that. It sounds awesome, right? Well, it actually was really bad. So the problem was primarily that people who were engaging with digital photos were not in the mindset where they were actually ready to print. So conversion to purchase was like 0.001% of actual monthly actives in these photo apps. So just like the behavior of buying prints did not align with the behavior of actually, using digital photos. So don't do this. Okay, so the other thing is let's talk about email. So 8Tracks is a really awesome service that basically has user-generated playlists. So I listen to it all the time at work. Check it out, highly recommend it. And they're trying to drive more mobile traffic, take those desktop users that use the website, drive it to their mobile app. And so they do this with email. And so basically at the top of every email, you see this get the app button. And so it's a smart link. It's like a branch link that allows them to actually measure clicks and subsequent installs and even down funnel things like registration or sign up or whatever. And then they can optimize that messaging to try to improve the conversion from email to actual app engagement. Just a side story, they used to have this before where they'd put the two links, and I guarantee somebody does this here, but you don't want to make the user choose what operating system they have. You know that by default because you can just detect that automatically. So just don't do this, please. All right, so those are some things where basically that was some suggestions on how to map out channels that drive a download. But the download, as I mentioned, is just the first step. That person's super skeptical when they show up. You need to do something to actually activate them and convince them to stick around. So I have 3 examples here of some folks that built really awesome activation-focused user experiences. So the first one I'll use is Hotel Tonight, and they do this really great personalization for users that originate through their referral program. So let me take you through the flow. So hopefully you guys can see that. So let's say that my friend is using the Hotel Tonight app, they visit the referrals page, and they want to send me an invite. So they click SMS to generate an SMS message, pre-populate it with it's a link, smart link, that'll actually track which person that sent the invite. And then, so I receive this, click it, and install it, and on open, I actually get greeted with a personal welcome from the friend who invited me. It's super cool. It even pre-fills the coupon code, automatically applies it, And then you can actually measure the effectiveness and how like viral this feature is. It's cool. All right, let's use another example of personalization. This app called GoGoBot is a great lifestyle app, basically that shows you really great events in the area. I found this really awesome Harry Potter scavenger hunt in SF that I did a couple weeks ago through GoGoBot. I highly recommend it. Anyways, so this is what their onboarding screen used to look like. They'd have basically, some really cool like designery graphic and then like a prompt to actually sign up or register. And then here's what they did for their invite flow. If a user originated through an invite, they'd actually show the face of the person who invited the new user, and then they'd even show you have the ability to share like an event or a list or whatever. So they'd even show a little side scroller list of the thing that was shared. So it's like first experience with this app is something that's just super, super personal, that just that particular person actually gets. And so adding this flow as the personal onboarding versus the regular onboarding, they saw a 78% lift in conversion to actually activate. It's great. Okay, another one, it's more of a deep linking, if you guys know what that means. We call it contextual linking. With this app called All the Cooks. It's another, it's like a recipe app. You have the ability to actually create recipes and like share them with the other people on the network, all this cool stuff. So they added this really cool sharing flow. So let's say that I'm a user, I've just created this awesome recipe, and I go to share it with my friend, maybe who doesn't have the app. It then pre-populates an email and then puts a link to that particular recipe. It's another branch link. They embed all the recipe details into that link. Then any new user who clicks it gets taken to the app on the App Store page. After they install it, or if they had it, it would open up right away. It shows them that recipe as like the first screen that they see. So it's just really awesome continuous experience. We call it contextual primarily because we believe that it's really, really important to carry through the context and the expectations of the user through the App Store, just from a user experience perspective. Cool, all right. So last but not least, let's talk about, you've got a user engaged, they've activated, they're ready, they're engaged, they're using the app. Now how do you do sharing? I think there's a tendency, everybody adds sharing or an invite or something. Like you see it in every single app. If you just add like an invite or sharing feature as like a check the box, like people want to share my stuff because it's so awesome, you don't expect more than like 1% growth overall, just something that we've seen, people that build this type of thing. You need to design sharing or invites to fit really naturally with your user experience. If it doesn't like align with what the user is actually doing, they won't do it. So think really, really hard about, and it's like hard to actually make a generalizable recommendation about exactly the way you should do it, but you need to like, spend some time, days, months, whatever, just sort of like trying to determine what feels natural for your users. So I have an example. We have this app called The League, which is this basically like invite-only exclusive dating app. And you have to apply and then get accepted to get in before you can actually start dating the other folks on the app. And so they had a wait list of people who were waiting to hear back if they were accepted. So naturally, what would make sense is you want to skip the wait list or move up on it, then you generate a link that you can send to another friend who doesn't have the app and get them to apply. And the more folks that you actually get to install the app, the faster you move up the wait list. And so it's just like people want to get in, so they're incentive, and you probably have seen this, like Robinhood did a really good example good job on the web. Well, this is like an example in an actual native mobile app that has worked really, really well. The other cool thing they did was basically users that had gotten in, they gave every single person one golden ticket where they could send out to another person who was on the wait list or had never even entered the wait list and give them a free pass to enter into the pool. And so I don't want to throw out numbers, but they saw greater than an order of magnitude on the previous number I had mentioned in growth from a direct invite from these features. So a really, really big contribution to their overall growth. So The last thing I want to talk about is more of just a simple way to break down when you're thinking about how to improve and optimize your actual app when you look at this growth engine. And so you might have heard of K-factor as this measure of virality. And so I have a simple way to calculate it that you can use to try to improve, focus on how you should prioritize building new features or optimizing. So I'm running out of time, so I'll go quick. So the first thing to do, measure the conversion from download to activation. So maybe let's just say there's like 50% of people who download actually activate. Next, measure the conversion from a user that's actually activated to the user that'll actually go out and share your app. Let's say that's 50%. Then measure the conversion from the users that share to the new viral installed users that came through that awareness, the viral awareness channel. And when you multiply those all together, let's say that was 4 times or whatever. If you multiply those all together, that's like a metric of how viral your app is in a very simple sense. Like there's a lot of other factors that come into it, like time and things like that, But simply, if you want to try to figure out like, wow, my conversion to share is really poor, I got to do something there. Next thing I'm going to do is try to optimize how I get users to actually share the app or whatever, if that makes sense. So it's a really simple way to like break it down into like solvable pieces and then think about what your problems actually are, if that makes sense. So quick summary, he's about to kick me off the stage. So 1, measure your download source so you can actually optimize and improve it. 2, optimize the welcome. 3, make sharing align with the product. And then 4, it's going to be totally wrong the first time, so just keep trying, measure it, improve it, iterate it. So that's all. Feel free to shoot me a note if you guys have any questions or. I think I'm done. Oh.
Sorry, I know there probably are questions. We're trying to run a little fast. Or we have one really burning question and make it awesome and amazing.
How do you convert from web to app?
So web to app, we have this is also a little bit of a promo, but we have a web SDK, for example, with like a smart banner. So if you have like a really awesome mobile web splash, you can put up a banner there, and we allow you to measure the effectiveness of that banner. So you can see like, how many clicks and installs subsequently. And then the cool thing is, if you have a mobile web splash with a particular set of content, you can actually show that user the same content in the native app as the first screen they see. So it's just like a very, very continuous experience. There's a cool example of a online course taking app that's very popular that built a really great thing where you basically could be watching a course on the desktop, send yourself a link to your phone to install the app, and pick up the course right where you left off on the desktop as you pass that parameter through the link through the install. Super cool.
Nice hack.